Hello everybody, Luis here. Let's talk C Sharp. Today we'll talk about two very important keywords in C Sharp. So we know our loops, we know what they are, how they work, we know many of the nice things that we can use loops for. But there are two things that we can do to extract even more from loops, okay? And I'm talking about these two keywords, which are break and continue. Okay, they're both very simple to use. So let's take a look at what they do in practice. Let's say I have a loop here. I'll make a for loop, which is going from 0 to 9. Okay, and what I want to do in this loop is, let's say I just have a constant right line, I. If I run this code, what I see in the console is all numbers from 0 to 9. And this is exactly what this code is supposed to do. Let's make this a little harder. Let's say I just want to display the even number. So I have to throw in an if statement and I have to check if I is even. And if it is even, I want to display it. So if I run this code again, I only get even numbers between 0 and 9. And remember that mathematically speaking, 0 is an even number. Okay? So this is fine. It works. I guess it is a good enough solution for this specific problem. So it doesn't really matter what I do here in terms of algorithm performance or anything like that. But in real life, however, I don't think this is the kind of problem you're going to be working on. So you probably want to have something a little more efficient, okay, when it comes to the algorithm you're using to solve your problem. So that is when one of the things that you can do is just throwing a continue keyword in here. So how can we do that? So let's take a look at this code again. So we have a for loop. Again, it's going from 0 to 9, and it's doing that in steps of 1. So we have another condition here, which is checking if I is even, and if it is even, I'm going to display the number, okay? But there's a second approach to it, okay? So maybe what I want to do instead is check if I is an odd number, okay? So if it is odd, I can either say equals 1, that'll represent an odd number, or I can say I modulus 2 is different than 0. Okay, both will work, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm checking if the number in that iteration is an odd number, and if it is an odd number, what I want to do is say continue. Okay? And then I throw my console right line down below. So let's run this. Let's see what kind of output we get. Yep, I still get only even numbers between 0 and 9. So that works. So let's take a look at why this works. So what this code is doing is, again, I'm checking if my I for that specific iteration is an odd number, and if it is an odd number, I'm throwing in the continue keyword. So if you think about it, in plain English, it kind of tells you what it's doing, right? So in C Sharp, what's going to happen is that as soon as your code hits the continue keyword, what you're saying is, do not proceed with the rest of this code, meaning whatever I have down below here still inside the for loop, and start the next iteration. Okay? So in other words, if this condition is true, if my I is an odd number, don't execute whatever I have below my continue keyword. Instead, start the next iteration. Okay, So my I starts at 0, so it will be 0 for the first iteration. Then I'm gonna check, is 0 an odd number? Nope, it's not an odd number. So this piece of the code, this code block inside my if statement will not run. That's how if statements work, right? So this will not run, and I'm gonna display 0 in the console. Then here is where my for loop ends. So let's start the second iteration. So this time, because I'm incrementing in steps of 1, I is equal to 1. Okay, so let's check if 1 is an odd number, and it is an odd number. So this code will then execute. And because it executes, I will just skip to the next iteration. So when I hit the continue keyword, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm forgetting about everything that I have below it, and I'm going to start the next iteration instead. Okay, and that's why when you run this, all you see is even numbers, because whenever I is an odd number, I jump over this console write line statement. So these line here, line 13, is never executed for odd numbers, and that is because the continue keyword is right there. Okay, so another thing that I want to show you guys is the break keyword. So let's think of a different problem here. Let me clear this up. Let's say I have a while loop. Okay, so I'm going to have a named counter which starts at 0. Then I'll have a while statement, and while true, that's something you can do to create an infinite loop, in case you didn't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a console write line. I'm going to display counter, and in the end I'm going to do counter plus plus. Okay, so this is an infinite loop again, and if I run this, once again I'm going to get a piece of code that runs indefinitely. Okay, and that's why I see these numbers here, and I'm reaching 30,000 now. So this is an infinite loop. This will go on and on and on until the end of times, or until I end it. But maybe there's a very specific condition that I can use to break out of this loop. Okay, it is an infinite loop, but logically speaking, in a real life situation, you want to break out of it. And if that's what I want to do, maybe my condition will be, and I'll throw in an if statement, maybe counter is equal to 10. So if my counter is equal to 10, what I want to do is, and again, this is another situation in which English is your friend, just because plain English will tell you what's going on. So if counter is equal to 10, I'm going to break out of this loop. Okay? Something that I have to say is that the break keyword does not break out of the application. Okay? It just breaks out of the loop. Okay? So because I'm breaking out of the loop, I'm going to continue running whatever I have below my while loop in this case. And to demonstrate that, what we're going to do is I'm going to throw in a console write line here. Going to say count starts, and after the loop, we're going to throw in another console write line, and we're going to say end. If I run this, there we go. So my count starts. I see all my numbers between 0 and 9. And then when my counter is equal to 10, I break out of the loop, and that's what I see here, because I don't see the number 10, right? And then I see my end statement, which is down here, right? So the break keyword broke out of the loop and allowed my code to continue executing the code outside the loop. Okay? So hopefully this makes sense. The usage of these keywords are very easy, but I highly recommend that you try some exploration exercises to make sure that you get these under your fingers, because you're going to be using these keywords all the time. Okay? So I hope you learned something new today. I'll see you all next time. Bye.